Donald Trump is toast, according to his former Attorney General, Bill Barr. The former Trump ally turned critic says if even half the allegations against the former president stack up, he'll be gone.
Donald Trump has spent the weekend hitting the campaign trail.
This is big money now, right?
Yeah.
Travelling alongside his alleged co-conspirator, Walt Natter, in the case that may just land him in a jail cell.
If even half of it is true, then he's toast.
The most damning evidence is not necessarily the boxes strewn around his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida, but the transcript of a recording which purportedly reveals Donald Trump admitting he shouldn't be showing the documents because he hadn't declassified them at all. Donald Trump's former attorney Bill Barr spoke on Fox News Sunday.
Yes, his adversaries have obsessively pursued him with phony claims, and I've been at his side defending against them when he is a victim. But this is much different. He's not a victim here. He was totally wrong that he had the right to have those documents. Those documents are among the most sensitive secrets that the country has.
Donald Trump supporters have already started to rally in Miami ahead of the former president's formal arraignment.
Now is my president. Now, tomorrow, and forever. And I defend him.
And the latest polls show support isn't slowing down across the country either. This poll was taken over the days that news of the federal indictment broke, and show Donald Trump is still the candidate to beat.
It's just a witch hunt. It's a BS.
The timing of this trial will be hugely influential. In the midst of an election campaign, it has the potential to embolden Donald Trump supporters. After his New York indictment, Donald Trump raised $7 million for his campaign and saw a rise in the polls. While the prosecutor, Jack Smith, has asked for a speedy trial, it's likely the judge will give Trump's defense team more time, setting up a court showdown for later this year. Annalise Nielsen, Sky News, Washington, D.C.
Let's get some live analysis with Professor Gordon Flake. He's from the Perth US Asia Centre. Gordon Flake, thanks for your time as always. What did you make of that intervention from former Attorney General Barr?
It's very striking in that the former Attorney General has been so proactive in defending Donald Trump for so long on so many other issues. And so for him to come out and so clearly state that this was the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back, that it was indefensible, is quite stark. And it indicates, I think, a pretty keen legal mind understanding, as he said quite specifically, that these issues are a lot different than other issues that might potentially be classed as kind of political. So again, I don't know that that's going to change a lot in terms of Republican voters' minds, in terms of MAGA voters, but in terms of the Washington establishment, Bill Barr's voice is going to carry a lot of weight.
I do want to explore that, the impact on the Trump base in a moment, but just for clarity, before we move on to that, a conviction, if it did eventuate, what are the implications of that for Trump's run for 2024, just in legal terms and practical terms?
It's not entirely clear. The question as to whether or not he could run for president, whether he's indicted or not, is answered at this point. There is no formal restriction on somebody who's been indicted of a felony running for president. Whether he can do so after having been convicted really depends on, obviously, the conviction itself, whether he's serving jail time. It's kind of hard to campaign if you're in jail. But more importantly, that would probably and presumably have a different impact than just this ongoing political process. But it's not clear. That's something that's never been tried before. In 44 presidents that preceded Donald Trump and the one that has followed him, we've never, ever had a U.S. president formally indicted of a crime, let alone convicted of a crime. And so this is untested waters.
With the Trump base, as we heard in those comments that Annalise brought our viewers a bit earlier, those rusted on Trump supporters see this as a witch hunt. And if anything, in terms of his primary polling numbers, they're going up.
They are, but that kind of misses the big point. You saw the poll that you just showed there. 61% of Republicans support Trump, over 23% for his nearest rival, Governor Ron DeSantis. A poll I saw that came out of Fox News suggested that over 60% said the indictment made them more likely to support him, or they didn't change their vote 14% were more likely to vote for him, and only 7% less likely to vote for him. But again, that misses the broader point. Donald Trump lost the last election by 8 million votes. The real question isn't whether or not he can hold on to his rusted-on supporters, but whether or not he can expand his base from a demographic that's already shrinking due to age and other issues and demographics and immigration, et cetera. So that's the real question. So I don't know that that's been answered by the events over the weekend in the favor of the former president.
But it does give him a further hold on or a lock on the primary race, doesn't it?
It does, except for we're really still quite early in the primary process. Things don't really normally kick off until January or February of last year. So the notion that we can predict today where things are going to lay a year from this time or in August of 2024 when the actual primary convention takes place, it's just very, very early. I think it's quite remarkable that there are some candidates that have attempted to, or potential candidates that have attempted to distance themselves, while others, like Mike Pence and Ron DeSantis have tried to kind of keep themselves, very close to Donald Trump on issues like that. Nikki Haley on foreign policy, on Ukraine, Chris Christie on this issue itself have been a little bit more distant. And so it's going to be an interesting dynamic over the weeks and months to come.